What is up, everybody? It's your boys with Franchise Tagged Fantasy Football back again for another episode. Please be sure to leave a like, rating, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about our previous rankings of the quarterbacks and who you should have thought should have been number one if we didn't hit that correctly. All right, boys. Today, news and notes, because there's been some big news that comes out. True. Finishing up the way too early rankings with the tight ends. We're only doing 12-1 because, as everyone knows, and Ray and I beat the drum to it, and Brendan is on the train, tight ends suck. But how's everybody doing?
I'm doing great.
Good. Awesome. Anyone do anything fun for the long weekend?
Golfing. I'm going to apply to Survivor today.
Hey, hope to see you on the TV show, boyo. Yeah. All right, guys, without any further ado, let's jump straight into the news. Brendan, what do you got for us?
So let's start earlier. So Dalvin Cook may take a pay cut in order to stay with the Vikings. I think he realizes that he's not as desired as he thinks he is. He still sees Zeke and Lenny as free agents, so he's probably thinking at this point he'll just take anything.
I mean, isn't that how every running back should look at it? They're not as wanted as they think they are.
Yeah, I think he's still owed $15 million. So, I mean, it's a lot of money to give up, but they also don't have to pay him that either.
Yeah. I don't know.
Something I would really like to see if Dalvin Cook were to leave is him go to a contending team that needed a running back. And I feel like there's really only one name that keeps getting brought up.
Let me guess. Buffalo Bills.
It's crazy. Imagine it. And he could play with his brother. That'd be a cool instance, right? But he goes there on the field. If Dalvin Cook goes to Buffalo, if that just so happens, I don't think it's going to happen. I think he does stay in Minnesota. But if he did end up going to Buffalo, I mean, how high do you draft him? I think he'd be pretty interesting. I bet he skyrockets up boards too.
Probably.
Just off a landing spot alone.
I think right now, though, his current ADP is undervalued. So like in best ball and stuff like that. So let's just say he does stay with the Vikings. It's probably his best landing spot overall, no matter what. So you're getting him at a pretty good, discount.
Yeah, because anywhere else he's going to end up going, if he does end up leaving Minnesota, is just going to be a muddied backfield. I can't see him landing in a spot where he's the number one that doesn't already have a guy there. Like, say he goes to Baltimore, he's got to compete with J.K. Dobbins. Say he goes to Miami, there's a slew of running backs there, including like all this hype for Devin Achane. I just wanted to bring that up, see if anybody wanted to maybe comment below, see what you guys are thinking. But it's definitely something to talk about, because I think Dalvin Cook still has something in the tank.
Definitely. Let us know what you guys think below, where you think the perfect landing spot for Dalvin Cook would be. Next up on the news docket, Brennan.
Austin Eckler is going to take on an extra $2 million in incentives for this year, so it kind of makes him, want to stay a little bit longer with the Chargers. So I think the Chargers are still his best spot for fantasy wise. So this is great news for everybody.
Yeah, great news for, as Ray says, Sherbet for sure. Because Keenan Allen and Mike Williams aren't going to stay healthy, so
that's why Quentin Johnston's there. He's there to do that.
Listen, the ball's going to bounce off his pads. All right, so Eckler's there.
Yeah, and then obviously the biggest news of it all, D-Hop has been officially released. So Cardinals are on the book for his $22 million contract, and he can go wherever he wants.
Just got to pass a physical, big dog.
Where do you guys think he lands? Brandon, where do you think he lands?
Chiefs.
I think it's the Bills.
I think it's Dallas.
That's the more money. If you're to bet that, it's probably make more money on that one. But I just think with the Chiefs talking him at the draft, it makes too much sense.
They need a number one. He wants
to go to a contender.
Yeah,
wants a good quarterback. He's listed like his five things that he wants.
I can also see, my buddy told me this earlier, it kind of made sense, is that like the Patriots, they always get like near the end of the guys, like, best career, like Chad Ochocinco, Randy Moss.
Back to my first point, he wants a good quarterback. He wants to be a contender.
I can't wait till we do like an episode on who we're completely off of. Because man, I've got guns loaded.
I know,
loaded for Mac Jones.
Coming in the works, man. It is coming in the works. Can I talk about the last piece of news? Because it's my favorite thing that I've heard. Jimmy G failed his physical due to a foot injury and could possibly be cut by the Raiders if he's not on track to play Week 1. Oh man.
That's so crazy that they kept it under wraps and it basically said like, yeah, we've known about this. Like if I guess a good quarterback fell to them, they were going to take him and they were to cut Jimmy G. But it's weird because like Will Levis was there, so that's how bad it was for them to be like, yeah, no, like we'll rather have Jimmy G over Will Levis,
who currently only has one good foot.
Yeah, so
it makes me think that the rest of the league was pretty far off of Will Levis as well.
Yeah,
like pretty far off. Like for anybody else to move up and get him would have had to have been probably in the 3rd round. That's how I'm seeing it, but like I could be wrong. I like. You never know. You'll never know. It'll never be.
You won't, but leave it up to Tennessee to make more bad moves. But anyways, back to the Raiders. This kind of brings to light, I think, what Devontae was saying about, all the stuff in that interview and article that came out. Like, I think he might have had a little bit of insight to know, like, you might be playing with an XFL quarterback at this point in time.
Jared Stidham's there.
No, he's not. He's in the Broncos. It's Brian Hoyer. And then in their quarterback they drafted in the 4th round is Aiden O'Connell. He looks like Farva. Literally looks like Farva.
Aiden O'Connell came from Purdue, correct?
Yes, he came from Purdue.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah.
Why did they let Jared Stidham walk? He looked fine.
The Broncos gave him some good money.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, did you see what Russ looked like last year?
Yeah, I was saying like
a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
So
Sean Payton said I'd rather have Jared Stidham possibly.
Yeah. That's tough. That's as tough as it gets.
That is really tough.
Yeah.
Anyways, Jimmy G, if he's not ready by week 1, I don't think he plays football ever again.
So let me ask you guys, how far does Devontae fall if Jimmy G can't go?
And Brian Hoyer's the quarterback starting?
Brian Hoyer's or Aiden O'Connell, whatever. Doesn't make you feel better.
I'm not taking that's going to be, as Ray was alluding to, I would be completely off of Devontae. He would not be on any of my teams.
Well, how far would he fall? Because also think about it, because Josh Jacobs is there too, and he's going in the top 1st round. So, are you moving him down too? Are you moving the whole entire Raiders offense down?
Yes, pretty much. But Josh Jacobs would probably still be a 3rd round running back for me at that point in time.
I think Devontae would be worth taking in the 3rd round, and I think he'd be a steal in the 3rd round because he's done it with absolute trash when Rodgers went down with Brett Hundley. He did it with him. So. If you can do it with Brett Hundley, you can do it with anybody.
But I think Brett Hundley's probably better than Brian Hoyer.
I don't know, man. I think they're both bad.
Yeah, they're both bad, but
you're trying to compare apples to oranges.
Pick which piece of garbage you want. You know what I mean? So,
hey, that piece of garbage still got Devontae 1,000-yard season and 10 touchdowns. So
he also had Aaron Rodgers for the first half of it, so he's on good track, anyways.
I think that Devontae is a guy that would be quarterback proof, and I would be interested in him in the 3rd round, but it would have to be the back end of the 3rd round. I wouldn't take him in the beginning.
We'll get into it.
We're talking about.
Well, yeah, we'll get into it in a little bit because we're going to talk about uncatchable ball percentage. Well, that's alluding to where we're going, so we might as well just go ahead and jump into it and talk about it. So, boys, you ready to do this?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, way too early tight end rankings. Today we're doing 12 through 1. Not doing 24 tight ends because miss me with that. Anything after 12, it's a crapshoot anyways, and you're streaming tight ends from the beginning.
Yeah.
All right.
After tight end 6, you're streaming quarter or tight ends.
Pretty much. So, tight end number 12 coming in our consensus rankings is Dalton Schultz. He is now a Houston Texan. He is no longer a Dallas Cowboy. But last year, he finished with 9.45 fantasy points per game and finishes the tight end 11. I have Dalton Schultz at tight end 12, so this is right where I have him.
I think I have him at 13. I'm trying to pull up my notes. Give me a second here.
Okay.
I have him at 11.
Okay. Well, anyways, so last year, 59 receptions on 89 targets, 577 yards, 5 touchdowns. So.
Yeah, he goes from Dak's safety blanket to CJ Stroud's new tight end into a 1-year deal for $9 million, which is he supposedly turned down a 3-year, $36 million deal from the Cowboys. So I'm shocked he's gambling on himself to make more, but goes to a situation where typically rookie quarterbacks don't target the tight end position.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Man.
I have him ranked 11th, and I think I'm probably higher than both of you guys, only because there isn't a lot of proven commodities in the Texans offense. So he could end up being the number 1 pass catcher in that offense. He could.
No, I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
But is it going to be is it going to be a tasty piece of pie? I don't think so. It's going to be lemon meringue.
Lemon meringue's good.
No, it's not.
What?
Better take that somewhere else.
We're here with it.
Yeah, no, what
I brought it to the table.
lemon meringue is awful.
It's great.
You can throw that shit right in the trash.
It's beautiful. I'm not a huge sweet guy though. I like tart stuff. So
that's like bringing potato salad to like the picnic.
You don't like potato salad? Y'all are from California. Who cares what you're talking about?
No.
All right. Anyways, yeah. So it'll be what it is. Next up is another crapshoot for us. But 11, Cole Kmet, Chicago Bears. Hopefully it'll get a little bit better this year. He finished with 8.72 fantasy points per game and finished at tight end 7 last year. I do have Cole Kmet at 11 as well. Brennan?
I have him at 11.
Raymond?
I got him at 14. I refuse to buy back into Cole Kmet. I refuse.
Oh, okay.
69 targets, 50 receptions, 544 yards, 7 touchdowns last year.
Yeah, last year showed that Kmet and Fields had some sort of chemistry going on, what Fields did when he did throw it. But there's some interesting stats to show that maybe this isn't the case. His red zone targets count dropped, and lastly, his receiving yardage were all lower than the previous season. So I think why he's a tight end 1 is because those boom games were the definition of boom, where he got like 20 points in like weeks 9 and 10. That's what everyone remembers.
20 points will carry you as a tight end 1 for 7 weeks?
Yeah, I'd say 5 to 7, depending on everybody else.
Yeah.
Like that'll carry you for days.
Man. Oh man! All right, that's pretty much it for Cole Kmet. I mean, DJ Moore comes to town. So at number 10, we have the Pat Freiermuth. Excuse me. He finished with 9.26 fantasy points per game last year and finished at tight end 8. I have Pat Freiermuth at 10.
I have him at 10 as well.
I have him at 7.
Okay, raise a little high on this guy. No, I'm just kidding. 98 targets, 63 receptions, 732 yards, but only 2 touchdowns. So I can see where Ray's coming from on this one.
That's why I have him rated so high.
Yeah, he took a big step from rookie to sophomore season, set new highs in catches, targets, and yards. He's tied for fourth among tight ends overall in targets. He's in my definition of consistent volume guy, so typically he gets anywhere from 6 to 8 targets a game, sometimes as high as 10 following last season. So I'm actually pretty comfortable with him. He's got a very safe floor. So when you draft him, you don't have to second guess him in the lineup. You just know he's going to get the receptions or the targets, which is hard to come by for tight ends.
Yep. Pat Freiermuth is the actual definition of you punted the tight end position and he fell in your lap in the 7th, 8th round. And I'm 100% perfectly happy with rolling Pat Freiermuth out week after week if you just punted the tight end position. If you didn't get Travis Kelce, I'm completely happy with it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And not to mention, pass catchers in Pittsburgh didn't do too well last year with the rookie quarterback. Hopefully Kenny Pickett takes a step forward. Deontay Johnson went 130-something targets without a touchdown. It was highest in NFL history.
Yeah. Don't bring that up.
So, and for the Muth to only have 2 of them, I mean, surely that corrects. If he keeps that same stat line but finishes with 6 touchdowns, he finishes as tight end 5. You know what I mean?
Probably higher than that.
So you'll be happy with that. Like Ray said, if you don't get Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews and you punt the rest of the position, then you could be happy with them.
Yeah, I'd be pretty happy with Pat.
Yep. Good safety blanket.
Yep.
Yeah.
And moving on, our consensus ranking for tight end number 9 is the one and the only Kyle Pitts. Yeah, he finished last year with 7.56 fantasy points per game and finished as tight end 33. I have Kyle Pitts at tight end 9.
I have him at 8.
I have him at 10.
Okay. All right.
I think this is one of the most talented players we've seen play tight end. I even feel weird putting him where I put him because I know he's more talented than the other guys I have above him. But unfortunately, he's just in the most heavy run offense in all of football, and he's not a good run blocker. So he actually doesn't mesh well with Arthur Smith by the definition. He's doing everything he can to win games and keep his job, but not utilizing Pitts or London is just kind of ridiculous at this point. It's also not a great option because his quarterback doesn't look to be the long-term option. I will be shocked, and I know both of you will be shocked if Ritter is the QB long-term for the Falcons. If I'm a Pitts owner, I'm actually hoping Heineke comes in and plays quarterback, and we've seen him be somewhat able to support pass catchers.
The only reason I have him at 9, I wanted to move him lower, but I just couldn't. But it is Desmond Ridder. That's the one reason why I didn't do it. And as we talked about percentages of uncatchable balls, Brennan, you brought this up pre-show. 63 or 37% of his targets were catchable, right?
Yes.
63% of the balls out of his 59 targets. 59 targets is all he had last year. 63% of those he couldn't even get a hand on.
It's pretty bad.
I think that's why I feel a little more comfortable with like putting him higher if I had to. I obviously didn't, obviously. But I can see a world where he finishes as the tight end 5. I really can. And it's really because I cannot see any universe where Desmond Ridder is a worse passer than what we got in Marcus Mariota. I can't see it.
I don't see him being able to support Drake London and Kyle Pitts, so it's going to be one or the other.
I agree with what you're saying, and I do think that it's going to be a 30 to 35 touch game for the running backs, and what you're getting left over is just the scraps. And that's the low end. But I can't see that offense being so bad through the air with a different quarterback, because Marcus Mariota was awful. Yeah. That's just how I see it. But it's hard to rank Kyle Pitts. He's the hardest one out of this entire list.
It's been hard to rank Kyle Pitts for the last 2 years.
It's because of the quarterback play. They've been so bad.
All right, moving on. At tight end 8 in our consensus rankings, we had David Njoku. He finished last year with 10.14 fantasy points per game. Finished as the tight end 10. I have Njoku at 7. Brennan, microphone issues.
Ray, go ahead. I have him at 9.
Okay.
I got him at 8.
Okay. As Ray brought up about Pat Freiermuth just a minute ago, Njoku last year to me was kind of that, if you didn't get one of the what was being termed the big 3 last year, Njoku was kind of my target when I punted the position to try to get some form of fantasy value out of it. He had 80 targets, 58 receptions, 628 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Once again, touchdowns a little bit low, but when you have Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews, they kind of skew the pendulum to one side.
He was also hurt for a decent portion of the season last season.
Yeah, he had his career high in receptions and was 11 yards short of his career high in yards, and 80 targets were second most among his career. So, question for you both. Can you guys guess which tight end had the second most targets in the red zone after Travis Kelce, who had 32 targets? Njoku, he had 19. And everything I mentioned with his yards, receptions were on a season where he missed 3 games due to injury. So, I think he could be in the top 5, potentially top 3 if Watson puts it together for a full season, because Watson didn't have an issue with Njoku as a tight end.
Yeah. I think that me and Aaron both brought it up last season. He was absolutely a target for us as a tight end for both of us. In both of our mock draft series, we both took Njoku in any opportunity we had, because the expenditure of getting Travis Kelce sometimes just didn't make sense for where we were drafting. So Njoku was a good fallback. And I think that this season he is an equal fallback. You know, he's a great fallback option.
Yes, I agree, because I was part of that conversation, because I did it. So I was there. I was right there. Tight end 7 in our consensus rankings, and I really do like this tight end. I do think he finally had a breakout year. It is Evan Ingram of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not just because, I'm a Jags fan now. Thanks, wife. But no, anyways, Evan Ingram last year, he finished with 10.41 fantasy points per game and finished as a tight end 5. I have Evan Ingram at 8 in my rankings.
I have him at 7.
Okay.
I have him at 6.
Oh, I thought I would for sure like Evan Ingram more than you guys, but apparently not. He had 98 targets, 73 receptions, 766 yards, and 4 touchdowns. I feel like, before we get too in detail, I feel like this was the season that every fantasy owner wanted him to have with the Giants and Daniel Jones, but it just never came to fruition.
Yeah. It's really a career revival for him. Everyone, including the Giants, were laughing at the fact that Jacksonville spent $9 million on him last season, because all Giants fans remember Ingram was having bricks for hands, and he dropped 17 passes in his final 2 seasons.
Yep.
He had a career high in every stat imaginable with Lawrence as his QB, and it looks like Jacksonville's working to keep him to stay there for the future. I think he's going to be the third option in the offense behind Ridley and Kirk, but he's got a QB. He's not afraid to sling it. So I feel very comfortable if I were to get him.
Yep. And Ray, you've brought up a stat before on the show, I do believe, about how he had one of the best rookie seasons of all time.
He did.
He did.
And that was with the Giants, and he just tailed off. And then last year, to me, kind of is like, okay, I can see why he had such a good rookie season, because he is actually, compared to our fantasy recency bias, he is actually an athlete and a good player, and you know what I mean? So that's just me.
Honestly, most tight ends, they just take a long time to become viable. Some would say that outside of the quarterback, the tight end position is the hardest position to learn and play. You have to learn 3 different sets of play calls. You have to learn how the running scheme is. You have to learn how to be a receiver. You have to learn what the blocking scheme is. You have to learn all these things. So it has the highest learning curve, I think, outside of playing quarterback in the NFL. So maybe that's what this was. I don't think this was an outlier. It didn't look like it. It was a week to week. He was viable. He was real. I don't think that goes anywhere. I hope it doesn't, because
I hope not either.
It really would help my Trevor Lawrence campaign.
Really help my Jacksonville campaign to beat the Colts. No, I'm just kidding. So at number 6 in our consensus ranking, we have Dallas Goddard. Dallas Goddard finished with 11.77 fantasy points per game last year and finished as tight end 12. I have Dallas Goddard at 6 in my rankings.
I have him at 5.
I have him at 9.
Jesus.
So last year he finished with 69 targets, 55 receptions, 702 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's been the definition of consistency for most of his career. He's put up great numbers, and those numbers he put up this season were also him missing 5 games due to a shoulder injury. So he's going to be the third option in the offense, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. This team puts up a ton of points and drags out drives. He's on the field for 90% of the offensive snaps. I could see him having a career year if he stays healthy all season long.
I only have him as low as I do because I feel like he is absolutely the third option on that team, and it's not necessarily close. I think that 3 touchdowns sounds about right with the other talent they have on the roster, and including the fact that Jalen's going to take in a few by himself. But I can see that he is the consistency option that you would like to have at the tight end position.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
No.
All right. Number 5, New York Giants tight end, Darren Waller. Darren Waller finished with 9.42 fantasy points per game and finished at tight end 31 last year. I have Darren Waller at 4 in my rankings.
I have him at 6.
I got him at 5.
Okay. I've last year 43 targets, 28 receptions, 388 yards, 3 touchdowns. As we know, he obviously didn't play a whole season. As we know, Josh McDaniels absolutely hates him for whatever reason it was.
He wasn't invited to the wedding.
Last year was kind of a weird year because he was mixing between the 3rd and 4th tight end off the board. Everyone's like, oh, there's a big 3, no, there's a big 4. Everyone spent good draft capital on him. Do think a lot of people are going to be burned on him this year, so it'll probably drop down. He does go to New York, and this is why I have him so high. He goes to New York, where he is solidified, or can be easily solidified, as the number 1 target in that offense.
Yeah, I think the only person who's going to compete for him for targets is going to be Saquon, really. Like, I mean, that's Saquon. I mean, who else do they really have? Like Hodgins, because Richie James left, so like it's really slim pickings.
I mean, they still have Darius Slayton, but they don't like Darius Slayton there.
Exactly.
They got Wan'Dale Robinson too. He's going to be healthy, but I don't care about Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah, he's coming off a torn ACL, so like his ceiling is probably why he's so high for us here. I think we just know that he can do it, and I think him being like the actual possibly number 1 for targets helps him.
Yep, I agree.
But it definitely, he is an injury risk because he just cannot stay healthy. So draft at your own discretion.
Warning.
Yeah.
All right, at number 4, a guy who's typically inside the big 3, George Kittle. Sorry, there's a little bit of delay there, but George Kittle, he had 13.43 fantasy points per game, finishes tight end 3 last year. I have George Kittle at 3.
I have him at 4.
I got him at 4.
Okay, if you have who I think next, I'm gonna call you dumb. But anyways, George Kittle had 86 targets, 60 receptions, 765 yards, and 11 tutties, boys. 11.
He had a very up and down season last year. He only missed 2 games because he would miss 2 games due to injury, and had a rough stretch where people got concerned because he would go on runs of, oh, he's George Kittle tight end 1, and then he'd be tight end 30 for a stretch of games. So, but when Purdy took over for him and Kittle's chemistry were like 2 peas in a pod, but the issue now stems, who will be the starting quarterback for San Francisco? Obviously, they want Purdy to be there, but will he be ready week 1? We're not sure. I feel very comfortable if it's Purdy, but if it's Lance or even if it's Sam Darnold, whatever case may be, I'm just not too sure where I stand with him.
Yeah, he's kind of a mystery as to like, and it's not him, it's more the quarterback position in San Francisco right now. Who is it going to be? If it's Purdy, if Purdy's starting the whole season, and Kittle's going to be nice. If it's Lance, I don't know. Lance hasn't played more than what, like a couple games throughout his whole career so far. You don't have no idea what his tendencies are. What's that?
So like a game and a half.
Yeah, like a game and a half. So it's just tough, but Kittle's talent is obviously there. That's not what we're questioning. It's the offense around him right now.
Agreed. Next up, I do not like where this consensus ranking comes in. I think this is a trap. So I'm going to preface this. Number 3, we have TJ Hawkinson. This is definitely a trap. TJ Hawkinson finished with 12.67 fantasy points per game last year, finished as a tight end 2. I will tell you right now, I have him at 5. I don't think that he's going to be a bad play, but I don't think you need to be drafting him as a top 3 tight end.
I have him at 3.
I have him at 3.
Okay. He finished with 129 targets. I'm not going to get that again. 86 receptions, 914 yards, 6 touchdowns.
Okay, so I think every Hawkinson owner was super happy he got traded, where he ended up with being Kirk Cousins' number 2 target for the rest of the season. He ended up having career highs in targets, receptions, and yards last year. So people see that he could be a potential, 100 receptions, 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns type of guy, and you'd be ecstatic about it if that was your tight end. So I think I have him here because I think he will be the number 2 in the pecking order with Justin Jefferson.
I do not believe that.
You think Jordan Addison will be the number 2?
And also, as you preface there, career highs.
Yeah.
I don't think that happens again. I don't think he's going to get career highs again. You guys are so down on Kirk Cousins, but yet you think that Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson are going to be great again, but Kirk Cousins is just going to be bottom of the barrel.
Kirk Cousins he's a stat patter. He's just like, your typical run-of-the-mill 4,000, 30 touchdowns, and then he blows a game in the playoffs. I don't know what to tell you.
Will TJ Hawkinson be a decent tight end? And yes, in the tight end landscape, he will be. But I'm not. The problem is Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews have pushed all of the tight ends up the board, just like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and
Hurts.
Thank you, Jalen Hurts have pushed the rest of the quarterbacks up the board too. So I don't feel like you need to reach to get Hawkinson when you can wait 7 later rounds and get an Njoku, a Freiermuth, Evan Ingram.
But you'd be ecstatic if you got 100 receptions, 1,000 yards, and 7 touchdowns, though. If you took,
but I'm not drafting Travis Kelce.
Well, I'm not saying Travis Kelce. I'm saying
that's my
Hawkinson.
point, though. This isn't going to happen again.
Okay, I mean, I think he could reach. I think he could have a new career season.
I think he can't do because he doesn't have Adam Thielen around.
You're thinking
anymore.
He can have a new career high season?
Yeah, I think so. I think he can have more yards, more receptions. I think it's possible.
I'll beer bet you that he doesn't get more than 86 receptions, and you want 1,000 yards. I'll give you 1,000 yards.
All right. If he has more of the 3, if he has more of like the 3 of the things, receptions, yards, and touchdowns,
he's got to go 2 out of 3. What's your touchdown line?
I mean, what was it at? He had 6 last year, 7?
Yeah, you want 6.5?
Yeah, I'll do 6.5. I'll take it.
Okay, so 86.5 receptions, 1,000.5 yards, 6.5 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Oh man!
Please put down in the comments what you guys think.
Gonna owe me some beer.
This is kind of wild, Aaron. I want you to know how much flack you caught, how many strays you caught, not even being there about your Kirk Cousins take. You were getting destroyed, and you weren't even there.
All of these people that listen, why don't they post in the comments?
That's what I want.
Don't be sissy lalas and just go talk behind my back. You watched the show, clearly. Let's hear it.
Hey man,
That's tough.
impressive.
I can't wait.
Tough.
I can't wait to make you guys eat crow.
I will be
great.
famished.
You're gonna make me eat crow with Kirk Cousins. I want you just to remember that. So
I will
gonna
be
be great.
famished.
It's gonna be great. All right, but anyways, my whole argument for Kirk Cousins was the same argument you put up for Tua. Just gonna say that at number 2, we have Mark Andrews, the one, the only Mark Andrews. He finished with 12.7 fantasy points per game last year. Finishes tight end 4. I do have Mark Andrews at number 2.
I have it too as well.
He's 2 for me.
Okay. Finished last year with 113 targets, 73 receptions, 847 yards, and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think if there's one player to give Travis Kelce a run for his money, it's Mark Andrews. Ravens got a new offensive coordinator who loves to throw the ball, and just reportedly on Wednesday, Lamar said he expects to throw more and run less. Literally were his quotes verbatim. And for me, I think it's very obvious that him and Lamar have a great chemistry, so I could see him putting up something similar to what he did in 2021, which he had 107, 1,309 touchdowns. It seemed he could do more than that. So,
yeah, I mean, look, I've been the biggest Mark Andrews truther since the beginning of time. It's been me. Man, all
I can vouch for that.
I want him to be on the field 100% of the time. That's all I want. And right now, he's usually on the field about 60% of the time. I need more. I want more Andrews. That's all I want. That's it. Okay. That's the only thing keeping him from being the tight end 1 is because he is not on the field anywhere near as much as Kelce. Not even close. Like half as much.
He also doesn't line up on the outside as much as Kelce does.
It's just, but even if he's on the field, it doesn't even matter where he's at because he's going to be open. He's open every time.
Can't catch a pass on a run play.
It's tough. It's brutal.
It is. It's rough. I do like Mark Andrews though, and I agree with you. I wish he was on the field more, and I wish he got to run more routes and catch more balls.
For most of my dynasty leagues, I try to trade for him.
Yeah, he's a hot commodity.
You don't say.
All right, guys. At number 1, I'm pretty sure if you've stuck around this long, you can guess who it is, but I'm going to take a pause for dramatic effect. Write it in the comments of who you think it is. That's right. It's Travis Kelce. It's Travis Kelce. He finished last year with 18.61 fantasy points per game and finished as a tight end 1. He's our consensus tight end 1. I have him at 1. Brennan has him at 1. Ray has him at 1. That's just the lay of the land. Travis Kelce finishes like wide receiver 5 every year. It's so ridiculous. Crazy. He's definitely the cheat code at the onesie position of tight end. 152 targets, 110 receptions, 1,338 yards, and 12 touchdowns.
There's not much to say about this man. He's some people's GOAT for tight end, and he's still putting up elite numbers. He's still Mahomes' number 1 target, clearly, because he had 150 targets, which is insane when you think about that. He's going in most drafts in the first round around pick like 108 to 112. I don't feel comfortable taking him 108 if I have pick 12 or pick 11, but I'm taking him in the second, so I'm not reaching for him that first at 111. I'm also saying this because it was the worst year. Speaking for tight ends, it was Travis Kelce as the number 1, and the number 2 was miles away in regards to points, catching them.
I mean, to be fair though, Ray, we broke this down a couple years ago. It's like Travis Kelce, and the next closest person is like typically like 20 to 30 points, and the next person's like 10 points from that, and then after 3 it drops off. But like last year, Travis Kelce was like 80 points.
Miles.
Yeah, 80 points to the tight end 2. It's ridiculous.
He also had a lot of injuries behind him, so the landscape of tight ends were hurt much more than Travis Kelce was.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, it is. I mean, it is what it is. But he's
Let me ask you guys, where would you take him if you're in a redraft? Would you take him at 108? Like, where's your line at?
108 is perfect.
Would you take him earlier?
Potentially, depending on who's gone.
As I say, mine all realistically depends on what wide receivers are gone at that point in time.
Yeah, I don't see myself drafting him a whole lot this year. I just think he'll be gone before I get to him, or I'd just rather have somebody else. And I understand you here.
Let me ask you this.
Position. Okay.
You wouldn't take a running back over him that late in the first round, right?
Oh, depending on who's all fallen. So like it's like I think at 111 I would probably
realistically your choices would be probably maybe Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb.
I'd take Jonathan Taylor, but it's maybe a homer in me. I'd probably still take Derrick Henry over him.
Okay. And then wide receiver, I mean, you're not taking him over Jefferson, Chase, Kupp, Hill. Depending on Jimmy G, Adams, you're not taking him over Diggs, right? And so I think Garrett Wilson is probably where you start to look at it this way.
it's probably around that Diggs, Adams, Wilson area, and then for running backs, it's between. I think I'd rather have Bijan over him, Derrick Henry, but then Tony Pollard. I think I'd rather have Kelce than Tony Pollard.
I think probably the 110 would be my line of who's left on the board, because I think at 108 those guys are still in there.
Yeah, I think
Chubb is my line.
Okay,
where Chubb is. If Chubb is there, I'm taking Chubb.
Yeah,
outside of that,
super homer for Chubb.
Oh yeah, and this season's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice.
Well, I think we kind of draw the line on Travis Kelce. Take in mind, I don't think he falls off this year, but he's 31 now. I think if you next season, the 2024 season, I think is the season you start to see a decline in physical stats.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you both: who is a tight end you guys think can be a top 10 that wasn't in your top 12?
Tight
outside,
end
a steal, like a steal, a late steal that you're going to call your shot, basically saying, I think you could be a top 10 this season.
Greg Dulcich.
Zach Ertz, because D-Hop's gone now.
Chig. I'm on the Chig Okonkwo train.
Chig finished 13 for me, so
yeah, he was 13.
As well.
I actually have him at 12. Sorry, I have him at 12. So
no. I could also see Irv Smith sneaking into that
if he's healthy.
That's what I'm saying. But you said Greg Dulcich?
Yeah, Greg Dulcich.
Is it just because you look like him?
No, he's a good tight end, and he's just.
But he's playing. He might be playing with a handicapped quarterback. So
I just want Noah Fant to be a thing. That's all I want
in Seattle.
He's just not going to be. But I just want him to be a thing. He's going to end up getting traded like Evan Ingram, and then just exploding wherever he goes.
You know what?
Just remember that. Remember, I said it now. Just remember.
I do. The most likely outcome of a tight end that's not in our top 12 and any of our top 12s finishing as a top 12 tight end, highest probability I would say would be Taysom Hill.
Really?
He finished there last year. He finished tight end 5 last year.
I don't know. I just think with Juwan Johnson there, and then Foster Moreau coming back.
But listen, as everyone knows, he's their gadget player. So, and that's the only reason is because he's slotted as a tight end, but he gets rushes, he gets pass attempts, he gets receiving. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
he gets a mixture of the whole offensive side of the ball placed into one.
My late one would be Tyler Higbee if Stafford plays the whole year.
That's smart. Let us know in the comments, guys, of what you think or who we didn't name in our top 12 of who you think might finish in the top 12.
Need to see it.
Have to see it, guys. Have to see it. So
if you don't write it in there, it never happened.
Exactly. You can't call your shot after the fact. I called my shot on Kirk Cousins before, and apparently I'm catching a lot of flack for it. Can't wait.
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait.
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait. Hey, go follow me on Twitter. Let me know what you think on Twitter, guys. Go follow the other guys on Twitter, too. We'll get in a group conversation. But I think that pretty much wraps up our top 12 tight end rankings for today. So, as always, guys, be sure to leave a comment, rating, and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Discord. Follow us on TikTok. And until next time, we will see you